Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Well, this last weekend, guys, I went up to the annual ArnFest event, A-R-N-F-E-S-T. It's a play on words for iron, but it's a big event. This is the 13th annual one. I've been to every single one of them. It's held up in Union, Illinois at the Illinois Railway Museum, kind of headquarters out of the Crystal Lake area up in outside the greater Chicago area. And out from Chicago a little ways, but still, I guess you would call it on the outskirts of Chicago. But it's a big event that we've held, again, 13 years in a row now. It's really kind of hosted in conjunction by my website, VintageMachinery.org, as well as the OWWM.org discussion forums, which is more related to old woodworking machines, but they also do metalworking and stuff over there as well. And it's a big event. It's over several days, lots of demonstrations, lots of just gathering. For me, one of the things that I enjoy the most about the event is the swap meet that we have on Saturdays, where people just bring in their stuff, set up the tailgates out in the parking lot, and buy and sell all kinds of goodies. And what I want to do in this episode is kind of concentrate on some of the items that I picked up at this year's ArnFest. I also sold some stuff that I brought up to get rid of. Got to visit with a lot of great people, a lot of my viewers who came in, and a lot of people I met for the very first time, many friends that I have been seeing at ArnFest for many years as well. Like I said, it's something that I have really grown to look forward to each year. Also got to meet up with Lyle Peterson, Mr. Pete, if you ever watch his YouTube channel, old retired shop teacher that does a really good job of really sharing the trades, and I've learned a lot from Mr. Pete, and got to meet him last year at this event, and also got to meet him again this year. So we're going to go through this in just a minute, but before I do, I also want to just go ahead and mention one other thing and put it on your radar screen for those that may be interested. And this is something that I've mentioned about doing before, but I'm going to host a little work weekend here at my shop coming up on Saturday, October 21st. 2017, so that's going to be coming up in about 3 weekends, or about 3 weeks from the time this video posts live. And the purpose of this work weekend is I'm going to let some folks, I've already had some people tell me they want to come help do some stuff around here. I've got the two big drill presses. I've got the Cincinnati Bickford that I picked up from Adam Booth, and then I've also got my big Carlton radial drill. Both of these are just kind of in the shop right now. I haven't really done much with them yet. Both of them, or neither one of them, I don't believe we're going to really need to do a full-blown restoration on. I think they're, for the most part, they may have to do a little tweaking or whatever, but for the most part, I think we can just clean them up and put them back to work. But as part of that cleaning up process, I want to get all the old paint, all the old grime or whatever, get them off and get them where I can get them painted up where they look halfway decent. So the purpose of this work weekend is for folks to come in and help do some grunt work, quite honestly. It's going to be a lot of time with wire wheels and angle grinders and needle scalers and so forth, just getting all this old paint off of these machines and get them prepped for painting. Depending on how time goes, we may even go ahead and get a coat of paint on these machines. It's going to be probably, well, it really just depends on how many people show up. But I think that if we have a halfway decent crowd, we can probably knock out both those machines in a day and at least have them prepped and ready for painting. And then I can go ahead and get them cleaned up and hopefully get them back under power and get them running so that we can start using them in the shop. So details for that, we're going to probably start, around 8 o'clock on that Saturday morning on October 21st. If you want to come in, folks are more than welcome to. I just ask that you send me an email and let me know that you're coming. Here's my email address right down here below my name. Shoot me an email. Please don't do it in the comments. It's just hard for me to keep track of comments. I can keep track of email much easier. So if you're interested in coming, do that. I am located in Tifton, Georgia, or just outside of Tifton, Georgia. My thoughts on this is I really don't know that this is going to be an event worth, traveling halfway across the country to come to, or the world, or anything like that. I really see it more for people in the local area that may want to just drive up for the day or the weekend. We may carry it over into Sunday if anybody wants to hang around, but most of it will probably take place on that Saturday. But it'll be a good chance to hang out with some folks, meet some people, but it is going to be a work weekend, and we're going to put you to work, and it's going to be dirty, grimy, the whole works there. And many hands will make short work, and we can get it knocked out quickly, hopefully, and get these machines moving on toward restoration. So let me know if you're interested in coming. If you do want to come, we'll talk on email about what all you need to bring, but your safety gear and any tools that you might be able to use to help in the process, just bring them along, and we'll put you to work. And hopefully we'll get to shoot some video that weekend and get to share with everything that we've done. So enough on that. Again, Saturday, October 21st. If you're interested, send me an email, and we're going to get on to going through these items that we picked up at ArnFest. Well, we're going to work through these items, and I'm just going to say up front that some of these, I remember where they came from. I remember who I got them from. Some of them, quite honestly, I just don't. They were picked up on people's tailgates or whatever, and I chatted with them, talked with them, but I didn't write down names of everybody. Some of them were gifts. Hopefully I can remember the gifts, but unfortunately I'm not going to remember everybody's names again. I just did not do a great job of writing things down. That was just fast and furious going on that day, and it was just hard to keep track of all that. But first item up here, I'm really excited about this. This is a bandsaw blade welder. It's made by Manhattan, or actually it's MSC. It's their brand. I don't know who actually made it. But MSC is who sold this, and I remember I got this from Jeff Heath, and Jeff actually he's from Crystal Lake, Illinois, and had a little shop party at his house, and I've known Jeff for quite some time now, and he had several items for sale, and this was one thing. He picked this up with a metalworking bandsaw that he purchased some time ago. He has another dual bandsaw that has a bandsaw blade welder built into it, so he didn't need both of them, so he was letting this one go. So the idea here is you take a blade stock. It's got a little shear right here that you can cut it. You grind your ends. You clamp it in these little clamps right here. And what this does is it heats them up to just a red hot melting state, and it kind of shoves them together. And that's how you weld a bandsaw blade. This is with a machine like this. And there's a grinder down here. You grind that seam off after it's done. Back when I worked in the machine shop, we had a blade welder that was on a dual bandsaw, and we welded all of our blades in the shop. And we just bought rolls of bandsaw material, and instead of buying them already made, we just made them ourselves. So I'm kind of glad to have this capability to do this in my shop now. I haven't tried it out yet. Jeff told me that he has used it. It does work. This runs on 220. So anyway, we'll have it here, and hopefully at some point down the road, I'll give a demonstration on how to do bandsaw blade welding using this little rig right here. Next item here, this I remember was a gift, and I apologize, I do not remember the name of the person who gave this to me, but I remember we walked out to his car. He said, "I got something if you're interested." And we looked at it in the trunk of his car, and I said, "Absolutely, this is really cool." So if you don't know what this is actually laying down flat. This is what's called a post drill. And this is a hand-cranked drill press. These were real common back in late 1800s, early 1900s, before electricity was commonplace in shops. You would see these a lot in blacksmith shops and wagon makers shops, wheelwrights, people like that, in shops that just didn't have electricity. It mounted on a post, which is why it's called a post drill. I got it laid down, it's flat, it mounted up, up like this. There's a hand crank on it. As you crank it, there's a little cam in here. If you notice this little arm going back and forth, there's a ratchet up here, and that feeds a screw, which actually pushes the drill bit down. And you can adjust this. Usually, I'm assuming you can on this one here too. You can adjust the stroke to get faster and slower speeds. This down here is just a table. It was just basically something that you laid your work on. The drill bit could go down through it. It wasn't like a modern drill press table. So I'm actually kind of excited about this because my very first machine that I ever restored, probably back in the late 1980s, it was when I was working in the machine shop. I had picked one of these things up at a junkyard sale or whatever, and it was completely shot. The babbitt bearings were worn out on it. The shaft was messed up on it. And I took this into the machine shop, and after hours, I would go in and I'd work on this thing. We line board everything in here to get it, we put bronze bearings in here. We line board everything. I made a new shaft. I completely restored that post drill. And unfortunately, quite honestly, I don't know whatever happened to that thing. It's been so long ago, it's disappeared. But I really kind of wish I still had that old post drill because, again, it was the very first machine I ever restored. I've learned an awful lot about restoring since then. I was literally a teenager at the time when I was doing that. But anyway, this is going to be pretty cool. This one here looks like it's in pretty decent shape, so I don't know that it's going to really require a full restoration. Although I will probably take it apart and go through it. And, we got some nice posts back here in the woodworking end of the shop. And I see this going up in there. I don't know that it'll be something that gets used a lot, but it'll be a really good conversation piece. And I'll have it where it'll be operational, where we can use it and show it off in the shop. So anyway, pretty cool. This one's made by Champion Forge and Blower Company. Again, a blacksmithing company out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And again, I'm pretty excited about this. This is cool. Next item here is a straight edge for scraping in surfaces or whatever. I believe Doug Broberg had this, and he made me a good deal on it. I don't know that I really needed it. I've got a Camelback that's about the same length, but it was a good deal, so I picked it up and brought it home with me. I don't know what kind of conditions it's in. It actually doesn't even look like it's been scraped. It may have been. I can't tell from that surface, but this may be a scraping project down the road, or one of the participants in my scraping class may want to end up getting it from me and using it for a project. Again, I really don't know that I need this particular one, but it was like I said, it was a good deal, so I picked it up. So anyway, straight edge. This got a eye bolt down here on the end. This is where you can kind of just hang it up on the wall so it will stay stabilized, and then it's got a couple of handles on here for picking it up and moving it around. So anyway, straight edge, I believe that's a 36-inch. Next item here is a little woodworking vise. This was made by Morgan Vise Company out of Chicago. It's a Morgan 10A vise, and this mounts up under a workbench. Basically, you just bolt this up underneath there. You can put wooden faces in here, or you can leave it metal. Most people put wooden in there to protect the jaws, and I'm assuming this one, like most of them, has a little half nut in it that you can flip the vise and it slides in and out, and then you flip it the other way and it just tightens right up. I haven't messed around with it a whole lot yet. And it's got a little stop here that picks up that you can clamp up against. I've got one similar to this on one of my workbenches. And once I get my wood shop side of the shop going, I'm actually wanting to build some permanent workbenches in there. And some vices like this along that workbench it will be nice. So this one looks like, I believe that, and again, I apologize, I don't remember who gave this to me. And it was a gift, I remember that. But it looks like he may have actually gone through it and restored it and painted it up. If not, it's in the original condition. And it very well may be, I'm not sure, but it is in good shape. And this will be really nice once I get my wood shop going, which hopefully we're going to start working on this winter. So next thing I got here is a set of 4 CXA tool post holders, tool holders that fit on a CXA tool post. And I remember I paid $10 a piece for them. And I'm actually was looking for some of these. It's kind of funny. I was wanting to get a few more of them because this is the size I use over on my LeBlanc lathe. And I was wanting to get a few more of them. And I actually ordered a couple off the internet probably, 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I realized when I got them in that I had ordered CA holders instead of CXA holders, which I also use CA holders. It's a size larger than these. And I said, I'm just going to keep the CA holders because I can use those too. But I was still needing a few more of these. So anyway, we picked up this set of 5. This one is for holding a boring bar. The other ones are for holding tools. Most of these are imports, although there was one in here. It's made by Armstrong. I've seen the Aloris CXA holders. I never seen one made by Armstrong, so anyway, that's kind of neat. But anyway, all those will really come in handy over on my lathe, and I actually got tools that will fit in I think every one of these, where I can just go grab them and throw them up on the machine. So anyway, that was one of my purchases. These were another gift from a viewer, and again, I apologize, I don't remember exactly who it was that brought these up, but I remember they came up to my truck and said, hey, can you use these? And I'm like, absolutely. And these, of course, are some larger taper shank drill bits, and I've been trying to get a set up to 2 inches. I pretty much got all of them up to 1 inch, but between 1 and 2 inches, I've got quite a few holes in my collection. I've got a bunch of different sizes, and I didn't have a list to know what I needed and what I didn't need. But anyway, I said, absolutely, I'm going to take those home with me. They're in great shape. This one is 11 15/16, and this is 1 in 15/16 and 1 in 11/16. And when I got home, I realized that both of these are sizes that I need, so that made it even better. So anyway, we're going to put these over. These are number 4 tapers on them. Morse tapers, and we'll have them here when we need them, which is awesome. These are in great shape. They appear to be sharp, both of them. They don't look like they've been abused, so I'm going to put them over in my bins and I have them ready. So thank you very much. So the next items we got here are some more big taper shank drill bits, and actually these are core bits. If you look, there's 4 flutes on them. They're not made for center drilling, but these are for enlarging smaller holes. So you would drill a smaller hole first and then finish it out with one of these core bits, these two. And then this one is actually a reamer with a taper. I'm not sure if that's a 1 or 2 degree taper. I think it's on there. But anyway, these were a gift from Andy Bittinger. And Andy actually has quite a few of these. And let's see, he's got some. This one is 1 in 13/16. Let's see, this one here. This one here is 1 in 11/32. And of course, this one here is the taper one. And I know he's got some more. This is the number 5, the 1 in 13/16. He sent me a list here of what he has left. He's got some that are 1.131, they're number 4s, 1.107, this is a number 4 Morse taper, a 1.341, this number 4 Morse taper, and then he's got some 1 inch that are number 3 Morse tapers, and he has some more of these taper drills too. And I mention that because he's trying to get rid of them, and he's only asking $5 a piece for them. So if anybody is interested in purchasing some of these from Andy, like I said, $5 a piece, and then you have to pay the shipping. The shipping will probably cost more than the drill bits. I'm going to put Andy's email address down here, 0204bit@bevcom.net. You can see it down below. If anybody's interested in purchasing some of these, just email Andy and see if he still has any left, and you can get a good deal on some of these yourself. So anyway, thank you, Andy, for sending these. Also, these 2 sizes were ones that I need. Of course, I don't have a taper one. I don't know that I'll ever need that, but I've got one if I do. So I'm going to put these over in my drill bits as well, and we'll have them available when the time comes. Next here, we got some new old stock jaws for 6-inch Kurt Weiss, which of course I have one that I just recently restored. This is a pair of just regular flat ones, whatever. I paid $25 for that set. And then this is a single one that has a little groove lock in the top that you can put a depth stop on or whatever. And he was asking $20 for that one. And anyway, I picked up these 3, and I'm probably going to put these on my Kurt Weiss that I restored. The jaws that are on there, I ground. There's nothing wrong with them. Or I may just hold on to them, and I'll have them if I ever mess those up. But anyway, I thought that was a pretty decent deal. I'm probably going to put this one on for sure because I can use that little stop on there. I need to get a stop to fit in that groove, but that's a handy little feature to have. So I'll probably put this one on for sure. So anyway, Doug Broberg is who I got those from. Thank you, Doug. And speaking of Doug Broberg, he also had a bunch of these little file handles, and I picked up 10 of them. I think he was asking $1 a piece for them. Can't ever have too many file handles, right? So anyway, I picked those up, and I'll put those to use. I really want to get my files organized. I've got a tool cabinet that's supposed to be coming in November that I purchased. And one of the things I want to do is get all my files organized and get handles on everything so that I can just go over there, pull my files out and use them as needed. So those 10 handles there will definitely help. And I may have to contact Doug and get a few more when it's all said and done. So another couple of items I picked up from Doug Broberg. These are some reversing motor starters, and it seems like I've been going through these lately in the shop on machines that come in and need replacing, and he had a good deal on 2 of them. So we got an Allen Bradley here. This one's basically a brand new one in the box. I don't think it's ever been used. None of the knockouts have been knocked out or whatever. I was particularly interested in this one because it is nearly identical to the one that is on my Carlton drill press. And I need to replace that one. And my plan was I'd had a viewer who had sent me 2 motor starters, and I was just going to put the 2 motor starters in there. Several people kind of got on my case about that because technically on a reversing motor starter, basically a reversing motor starter, you have 2 starters. One is for forward and one is for reverse. And most of the time you're using a push button station. And in theory, you could push both the forward and reverse at the same time, which would not be good for your motors and electronics. And on a true reversing motor starter, there is an interlock in here that basically prevents, just down here in the bottom, it prevents both starters from contacting at the same time. Now, in my defense, with my plan to use the 2 individual motor starters, I was not using a push button. I was actually using, it was going to be controlled by a drum switch. And with a drum switch, it's impossible to have both forward and reverse going at the same time. So from a technical standpoint, I would have been okay. But from an electrical code standpoint, I really needed a true reversing motor starter. And when I found out Doug had one that was, again, basically a brand new one, just like what was in there, very similar to what was in there, I jumped on this one, particularly with it being in the enclosure and everything. And then this was a NEMA size 0, and I think this one was a NEMA size 1. If I remember right. It's also an Allen Bradley, and he gave me a good deal on both of them, so I just went ahead and got them. And the individual motor starters, I got plenty of machines that I can use those on as well that doesn't have a reverse in them. So anyway, can't have too much of this kind of stuff around. So anyway, I picked up those 2 motor starters, reversing motor starters from Doug Broberg, and now maybe all the safety guys out there will get off my case about using the correct reversing motor starter. And you know what, guys, you're right. I need to put the right one in there, so that's what we're going to do. A couple items here that I picked off of someone's table. I don't know who it was. These were purchases that I made, several items here. So first off, there's a little Armstrong machinist jack, and when I saw this, I had to jump on it. What was he asking? Was that $11 or $17? I don't remember, but it was reasonable. And the reason I was interested in this one is I have the twin to this one. I've got one exactly this size, Armstrong, and I actually used it not too long ago, and I said, man, I wish I had another one of these, because I really needed 2 of them in that setup, and I only had one, and I had to do something else on the other one. So when I saw this, I said, I got to get that. That's going to be too nice to pass up. This here is a micrometer stand, and you basically put a micrometer in here. It's a little set screw. It holds it in place, so if you're doing a bunch of stuff, this will hold your micrometer and free your hands up. And this was something else that I was actually on eBay probably about a month or so ago looking for one of these because I needed one in the shop and I didn't have one, and I never did buy one. I just thought they were all a little bit too expensive. And anyway, the gentleman had this one here, had the micrometer in there. The micrometer is pretty much junk. I mean, it is what is this? It's a Starrett, but it's I don't know. I might be able to go through it and do something with it, but it's just really stiff. It's not in great shape. But the stand is what I was wanting, and the stand is made by the Central Tool Company, Auburn, Rhode Island. And then he also had this little Starrett speed indicator. This is like a little tachometer. I've actually got several of these. The reason I was interested in this one was, this one actually is newer than the ones that I have, but it has all the tips in here. All the ones that I have only has whatever tip was on it when I got it. And there have been times that I've needed these other tips. And I can't remember how much he wanted for this. It was like $10 or something. It wasn't much. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to add that to the collection. And again, I mainly was interested in the tips in there more so than the speed indicator, but that's a nice little set there, and we'll keep them together. Well, there you go, guys. That's pretty much what we brought back from ArnFest this year. So got some nice new little goodies for the shop. Had a chance to see a lot of folks. I had sold a few items myself, like I said. Brought back some stuff we needed, some nice new things. But for me, the big thing about ArnFest is getting the chance to go up there and visit with folks, talk with people. I met a lot of my followers on the channel here, people who I hadn't met before, who came into the event just to be able to come up and say, hey. Of course, they probably got a chance to look at the swap meet and stuff as well. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. I always enjoy that. It's kind of like going to the summer bash. When I go out there, you know, it's just meeting so many people. Unfortunately, you know, I brought my cameras and stuff. I never got them out. I'm bad about that. When I get busy, when I start talking to somebody or I start working on a project or just pitching into helping, it's hard to shoot video and do that at the same time. You know, when I'm in the shop, I can set a camera up and I can talk to the camera and do things. But when I'm in a crowd, for me, and my personality, it's just hard to get a camera out and do stuff. And that's unfortunate. I probably need to hire a videographer to travel with me and just take video of stuff so that we can do more videos. But bottom line is I had a great time at ArnFest. To everybody who was there, it was great seeing you. We'll do this again next year about the same time, usually toward the end of September. So looking forward to maybe seeing some new faces up there next year. And I hope to be back out to Summer Bash again this coming summer. I've got something that may conflict. I'm trying to keep it off, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I'll be able to do that. And I know John Saunders has an event up at his place. And again, that's one that I know the last 2 years he's done it. I've had conflicts and haven't been able to get up to that one, but maybe this year we can get that one in as well. But always great to visit with folks and see folks and get a chance to shake people's hands and chat with them one-on-one. And with that, that's going to be a wrap on this episode. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Hope that folks can come in on October 21st and give me a hand around here. We're going to do some work in the shop and have a little bit of fellowship as well, a little chance to chat. And anyway, thanks a lot, guys. We'll talk to you later.